Hello to all the parents joining us. I've got a little bit until noon here, so gonna wait a second to get started, but thanks to those of you jumping in early. Just so you all know, if you've got questions you want us to get to right away, you can be starting to type those into the chat function within YouTube there, and we'll be answering those as soon as we get to the question part of our day today. All right, I think we can get started. My name is Chad Eichhoff. I serve as Director of Admissions here at Northern Arizona University. Really thankful to have all of you joining us here today. We've scheduled several of these over this week because we love this opportunity to connect with parents. Apologies again, any of you that tried to join in on Tuesday. We had lots of parents wanting to join there, and after inviting students to many webinars over the course of the last month and never hitting our Zoom cap, we did hit our Zoom cap with parents, because parents care and parents show up for their students, and as was evident by Tuesday night's showing at that Zoom meeting. And so now we're streaming through YouTube and have unlimited viewership. So if we hit a cap here, there's something wrong with YouTube or Google, I guess, because we should be able to accommodate any parents that want to join us here. So yeah, we're here to have an open question time. And I want to at least let you know who else is joining me here. Shannon Clark, if you want to introduce yourself.
Great. Hey, Chad, how are you on this beautiful day in Flagstaff? Nice to see you. I'm Shannon Clark. I serve as Assistant Dean in the Office of the Dean of Students, and I'm also the Director of Parent and Family Services. And I love the opportunity to talk to parents, even though we're in this virtual environment. So I look forward to answering your questions today.
Yeah. So again, if you've got questions as we're going along, be typing them in the chat, and I'm going to be checking them as they come in on my phone here. But I can kind of start off by answering some of the kind of broader questions that I'm sure are on everyone's minds about, how is NAU planning for reopening in fall? We do have several task forces working on all the intricacies of what that fall opening is going to look like. Obviously working with our state and federal leaders, our county leaders in different health departments, and also seeing what guidance is coming out from the CDC as well too, as we make those decisions. So we're tirelessly working on making a safe experience, as safe as possible for students to be able to return to campus this fall and offer a residential experience here on our Flagstaff campus for our incoming students. A common question certainly too is around testing, tracing, face masks, social distancing. Those groups on campus are helping to establish those guidelines, obviously with working with those partners and CDC guidelines as well. And we'll be putting in lots of safeguards on campus to keep the university community safe here. So certainly looking at all of those things to make it as safe of an experience as possible. In regards to how you're going to hear about that plan that we have, we're going to be releasing that information throughout the summer as things get more and more solidified. I do want to put a plug in for an online show that we're putting together, kind of an online TV series, I guess you could call it. It's called Forecast from Flagstaff. You may have seen the teaser on the YouTube page that you're currently on, the NAU social page. Just a couple minutes to kind of give you a sense of what that show is going to offer. But our first full episode is going to be June 3rd at 5 p.m. On YouTube and Facebook is where we're going to be streaming those. And our plan then is to be on a every 2-week cadence throughout the summer where we'll be releasing new episodes. And we want to use that time to be updating you on different changes or things that we've implemented on campus, and answering questions is going to be a big part of that Forecast for Flagstaff program as well too. So want to put that out there that that's going to be a great opportunity to get as many kind of updates as possible as the summer is going on. So be on the lookout for that. And those will be available afterwards for you to view on YouTube and Facebook. So it's not like you have to be glued to your computer at 5 p.m. on those Wednesdays. They will be available for you afterwards. Couple of questions starting to come in, and definitely keep them coming here. Someone asking that their son has virtual orientation on June 1st. Can you speak a little bit about what orientation will include? And yeah, I'll kind of talk through what the overall orientation kind of experience is or timeline is. So we kicked off our first orientation session this week, and it is a week-long kind of time period that we're allocating for students to complete these virtual online modules. The actual completion of the modules is probably going to take an hour or two for them to complete. So they don't need to show up right at that. I think it says like 7:30 a.m. on Monday when kind of the start time for their week is. There's nothing that they have to be there specifically for at that time in regards to orientation. But we've got, as I think I mentioned, there's going to be 5 different weeks. So first one is this week, and then we've got the next 4 weeks we have blocked out for orientation. If your student has not yet signed up for orientation, go to nau.edu/orientation, and they can sign up for one of those blocks of time. There's the orientation leader that's assigned to your student will be reaching out in the week prior to the actual orientation session. And at that time, that orientation leader is going to be kind of their helper and can help them with any questions in that week ahead. We also will share out the link for orientation in that week prior as well too. So there's not it's been a common question of, is there a link out there that my student can access it and start doing the orientation now? That link will be sent out in the week prior. Quite a few videos to orientate students to different things around campus and the opportunity to hear from some people we think are important to hear from within those modules in different offices on campus. A couple other things that will happen around orientation as well is that orientation leader, which is one of our student ambassadors, that is assigned to your student, is going to set up a Zoom appointment time as well. That will happen at some point during that week window. And that's an opportunity because we know it's so important and such an important part of orientation for your students to meet other students that are incoming as well as current students. And that gives an opportunity for some of that connection to occur. Obviously not exactly the same as being on campus, but I've heard in this first week that those Zoom sessions have been really well attended, and it's been a great opportunity for students to connect. So that's going to be happening during that week. And then the other thing that might happen in that week or close to it, they don't necessarily go hand in hand, will be the opportunity to meet virtually with an academic advisor. So your student will hear from the Gateway Student Success Center about setting up about their advising time that is assigned to them. So make sure your students start checking their NAU email address and make a habit of that. I think that's just a really important thing this time of year in general, because several offices on campus will primarily communicate with the NAU email address, since that is the official form of communication. So that advising appointment will be communicated through their NAU email address. Hopefully that gave a sense of what orientation looks like for you all. But if you've got other clarifying questions, definitely ask them in the chat and we'll try to get those as well.
Chad, can I talk a little bit about the parent resources that are on the orientation page? Yeah. So next week, the parent and guest portion, family and guest portion of orientation will go live. And that consists of a number of different topic areas that you're welcome to take a look at. Each topic area has some links to additional information, and then most of them also have a little video chat including topics like academic resources on campus, counseling resources, tough conversations to have with your student. There's a chapter or a tab for military connected families. So you can take a look at that information. You can return to it all summer as you wish. If something was particularly interesting, you're welcome to go back to it. But unlike Chad, the student portion, once the family and guest orientation is up and live, you can visit that anytime you wish on your own time.
Great. Got a parent chiming in that they're excited for the parent portion. So there we go. We're excited to be able to share that with you as well. A follow-up to the advising part I was mentioning, asking if it's a one-on-one appointment or a group appointment. So the initial kind of meetup time on Zoom will be in a small group. I think it's maybe 7 students max in that. And they go over kind of some of the higher level things in a group there. And then they're able to pull students into one-on-one chats from there as needed to answer any additional questions. And we even have orientation leaders on standby that they can transfer them over into another Zoom space for them to be able to talk through the kind of the intricacies of their student portal, things along those lines too. So trying to simulate all the connection points we would have with an in-person advising session. Even when we are hosting it on campus, we do start with the smaller group, and then from there move into the smaller one-on-one appointments as needed. So trying to simulate that piece there. Okay, there's a few questions here in one, and I apologize if I miss some scrolling up and down on my phone here. Asking about move-in date, semester start date, tuition payment due date, and that is all under consideration. There is, as many of you have probably seen in the news, lots of institutions, several institutions at least nationwide, that have moved up to earlier start dates with the intention of wrapping up the on-campus piece by Thanksgiving. And then when students go home for Thanksgiving, the semester is over rather than having them go out and then come back to campus for a week or two post-Thanksgiving. That option is certainly on the table and is one of the things that we are considering. If a decision, or I think it's likely that a decision will be made in the next 7 to 10 days on that. And obviously, as soon as any sort of decision is made there, we will be communicating that out as quickly as possible to your students and to the families as well. So certainly something that we are considering doing here. And I think probably quickly with that then, with the school start date will come the move-in date piece of that, and then the tuition due date piece as well too, I think are all going to be tied probably to that the start date that's determined for our courses to start. Question about campus visits available prior to fall semester, and I can talk through that a little bit. So we are not currently offering the, I guess, full campus visit experience, where you come sit in an auditorium, have a presentation, and go out with an ambassador on campus. But we have supplemented that in a lot of ways that hopefully you all will find helpful. Our campus visit presentation that you would normally get when you come for a campus visit, we are doing that twice a day, Monday through Friday. So 9 a.m. and 2 p.m. Are options for that. And I should preface all this by saying you're kind of one-stop shop for all of these types of things. If you go to nau.edu/virtual is where you're going to see those resources. So that ability to sign up for the campus visit presentations over Zoom. We also have the virtual tour experience there where, from wherever you are, you can see what campus looks like and experience kind of moving through campus. But if you are coming to Flagstaff, we also have a self-guided tour option that we've got built out. You can find that on that nau.edu/virtual page as well. And we quickly developed a podcast actually too, and that link will be found on that same webpage. And there's basically, you can listen to us talk about each of the stops on that self-guided tour. So trying to do what we can to give you that campus visit experience if you are having the opportunity to visit campus. While I'm scrolling through the questions, Shannon, do you want to tell us about Family Weekend?
Yes, I love to talk about Family Weekend. So this year, Family Weekend is October 2nd through 4th. And the date for Family Weekend kind of floats from year to year, but this is my favorite time, the very beginning of October. It's usually a spectacular time in Flagstaff. The weather is beautiful. The leaves will be turning. Maybe it'll be a little crisp and cool. Yes, first weekend in October, 2nd through 4th. We will be updating our website as we make determinations as to what kind of events and activities might be appropriate in October. But at this point, you can save the date and stay tuned for more information by looking on the website. And maybe, Chad, I'll just take a minute now and talk about the backpack newsletter too, because
Sounds great. Yeah,
that's a great way we get information out. So some of you may already have subscribed to the backpack. It's our email newsletter written specifically for families. During the academic year, we publish bi-weekly, so every other week, and we'll do a summer edition as well, just to get you some general information about things that are happening over the summer, our start date, move in, that sort of thing. But it is also a great way to stay up to date about Family Weekend. If there are tickets that you need, or if you want to find out what events are happening, we'll push that all out in our backpack newsletter. So you simply subscribe at our website, nau.edu/backpack, and give us your email address, and we're happy to add you to our subscription list.
Great. Some questions about housing, what housing is going to look like this fall. I can say that university housing is working through multiple scenarios to support our students' return to campus. Our plans do include reducing density in our traditional residence halls and considering alternative housing arrangements and all those things. And your student, I believe the email went yesterday. If you had already selected housing, there's an email that should have went to your student yesterday, I believe, and they can log back into their housing portal, the same portal they would have used around like room selection and all of that. And we're basically collecting information about what interest students have. And there's, I think, a few different options in there. And it's important to note that selecting interest in these options doesn't guarantee that your student's gonna get that option, but we're trying to get a sense of, I guess, demand and interest out there. So one of the three options there is a double room as a single buyout. So paying an additional amount of money to have a single room, traditional double room that it's now just your student in there. Again, not just because your student selects interest in that doesn't guarantee that they're gonna have that option. And it is important to note, if students are in that situation, they are not removing the second set of furniture. So there will be two sets of furniture in the residence hall room. And then they're gauging interest in suite style housing too. We have a couple of residence halls on campus that are suite style, where it's essentially two separate living spaces and then one shared bathroom in between those two rooms. So interest in the suite style piece, and then also gauging interest if students are interested in a different roommate that's maybe different than what they initially selected. Maybe someone outside of the residential college model. So it might be someone outside of the academic college that they're in. To select it there. So I guess I could see maybe if you had a family member coming here, a close friend, that kind of thing, that you felt good about having them kind of be the family unit in a shared room on campus to put that information in there. So really collecting information at this point. I will say that NAU is in the top 1% nationally in terms of total housing capacity. We have over 10,000 beds on campus. So unlike some other institutions that maybe have less housing capacity, it positions us maybe a little better in a situation like this. Keep the questions coming. Questions are slowing down here, but Shannon and I can come up with our own questions as well too, certainly. And I'm loving seeing everyone chime in about where they're joining us from all over the country. We did one of these last night, and I think 2 moms connected and got their 2 sons to be roommates maybe over chat here. So definitely a useful time to connect with other parents as well. Shannon, do you want to talk about as far as having any sort of like health clinic on campus and what that situation looks like?
Sure. We're really fortunate at NAU to have a terrific medical clinic. It is called Campus Health Services. We really outdid ourselves with a clever name there, don't you think, Chad?
I think
Easy
so.
to remember. Campus Health Services. We have medical doctors, we have nurse practitioners, we have a regular medical side of the clinic and also an urgent care side of the clinic. So for students who need to be seen right away, they can check in at urgent care. One really cool feature about urgent care is students can watch from their residence hall room about what the wait might be for the urgent care side of the clinic. So that's really useful. And I think both Chad and I are clients at Campus Health Services. And so we have great providers for our students available right on campus, super convenient. And we're an integrated system, which means that our counseling services is also in the same facility as medical. So for students seeing a counselor, they would check in exactly the same place as for a medical appointment. And then the counseling offices are kind of at the back of that building. But great location, beautiful, new facility right on the first floor of the rec center in the Health and Learning Building.
Great. Yep. And as Shannon mentioned, I do use Campus Health Services myself personally, and can attest to the providers being great there and doing a great job. Saw a clarifying question. Would the suite option be more? And my understanding of that is that it would, so kind of the 2 suite properties on campus being Gabaldon Hall and then Calderon Hall. So if you look at which there is an additional charge for those than the traditional double rooms. So if you look at the pricing within the housing portal for Gabaldon Hall and Calderon Hall, that will give you a sense of what the additional cost would be if your student said they were interested in the suite option and that was available for them. Got a parent chiming in that their daughter had an advisor meeting this morning, 2 students on the call, and then went one-on-one, very helpful appointment. So thanks for the feedback. Glad to hear it went well. There is a question about, son added my name to his orientation. I received an email. Is that the parent orientation that you mentioned previously? I don't believe so. I think there's, it'll be a future email that comes out that gives you the link to the parent orientation, which I believe next week is kind of the target to have that go out. Now the questions are coming in fast and furious here. So while I'm reading through these questions, Shannon, do you want to talk about kind of transportation in and around campus? Do students need a car? Kind of that type of thing?
Yeah, great. So first I'm going to talk about cars because this was a kind of a hot topic at our own house here. So I have 2 kids. I have a 25-year-old and a 22-year-old in high school. They both loved their cars. They were kind of car crazy. That was their freedom. And so they were very, very disappointed when we decided they couldn't bring their car their first year of college. I think students have enough to worry about when they're going away to college. They're living away maybe for the first time in a new place. They don't need to worry about a car too and all that entails. And from a family perspective, you'll also save some money if you would be the one funding the operation, because all cars on campus need a parking permit. So my vote is always no car the first year and then reevaluate after that. Again, if your student does bring a car, they will need to buy a parking permit. Their assigned lot will be near their residence hall unless they decide to upgrade to one of our covered garages. So as far as other transportation, part of the reason they don't need a car is because we have a terrific shuttle system. We have our own campus shuttles that run consistently looping around campus. And then we also have one of the city bus lines that runs right through the center of campus and accesses some of the businesses and apartment complexes that are adjacent to campus. And through that city bus system, students can also link up with other bus routes that go other places around town. Flagstaff's a pretty small town. Our little downtown is about, I don't know, half a mile from campus, Chad, pretty darn close. Yep. So a car really isn't necessary.
Which your student may not want to hear, but as parents, maybe you do want to hear that?
That is the truth.
Question about if parent resources will be available on tuition and fee payment schedule and options. Not necessarily, I don't think, within that orientation module, although we do have some things around kind of looking at cost of attendance, budgeting, that kind of thing there. There will be resources on the website, or there are resources on the website. I also would like to put a plug in for, we've got an email address for setting up appointments, one-on-one appointments with admissions professionals. So admissions.appointment@nau.edu will get us in touch with you, and we'll set up a one-on-one appointment and can talk through those things with you. We can do that over the phone. We can set up a Zoom appointment if you want to meet face-to-face. Virtually face-to-face with an admissions professional. And if needed, we can also refer you then to the Office of Scholarships and Financial Aid to go in even more depth. I know many families, their financial situation has changed dramatically because of COVID-19. So if that's the situation you're in, that's something that we could then connect you with the Office of Scholarships and Financial Aid to have a conversation about that at that time.
Chad, what other kinds of topics might students and families ask during that one-on-one admissions professional appointment?
Yeah, scholarship questions, next steps questions. If your student just has kind of general questions about what next steps are coming up, and really anything. That's, as an admissions office, kind of our goal is to know something about everything at the institution and be able to, if we don't have all the answers, at least connect you with the right resources. So if your student's anxious in any way about coming to NAU and wants to have the opportunity to connect with a professional staff member that could answer most, if not all, of their questions, and then point them in the direction of other resources, certainly feel free to connect with us. It's a good question. Kind of a follow-up, someone mentioned they joined late and wondering if we're talking about reviewing move-in and start dates. Yes, that is something that we're looking at. As many institutions nationwide have moved up start dates. So that is a consideration of ours now, and I expect within the next 7 to 10 days or so, we'll make a decision on that, and we'll communicate out with families immediately at that point in time. And also want to mention that this whole thing will be is being recorded, so you'll be able to go back and watch it in its entirety as well too, if you miss questions, or if you want to see yesterday's, that's recorded too, and maybe some different questions got asked that day. Ooh, our mentoring programs available. Shannon, can you talk about mentoring programs?
Yes, we have some terrific mentoring programs on campus. NAU really believes in the power of peer-to-peer mentoring. There's some great research that shows that mentoring programs are an effective way to improve persistence, which means your student keeps coming back semester after semester, and then eventually graduates, which is all of our goal. So some of our mentoring programs would be our Peer Jacks mentoring program, especially targeted for students who are coming from out of state. The residential colleges have mentoring programs. The Honors College has a mentoring program. Our Inclusion and Multicultural Center has a mentoring program. The Office of Indigenous Student Services has a mentoring program. I'm sure I'm forgetting some, but this is a way for students to connect with a peer for, I don't know, just for guidance and support. A lot of times, students are kind of shy or afraid to ask questions to a professional like me or like Chad, but they might feel more comfortable asking a peer. The other thing that's particularly impressive about our mentoring programs is the training that all of our mentors go through. It's a pretty heavy duty curriculum that they have to follow and study, and they receive terrific supervision from professional staff. So if any situation comes up that requires more of a high level intervention or consultation, professional staff is also there ready to advise.
Definitely keep the questions coming in. They're slowing down a little bit, and we're here to answer any questions you can throw our way. Another part of that question was, will the virtual advisor that their son meets with during orientation be the same person they could go to on campus? My understanding is yes, but I don't want to say that with 100% certainty that is going to be the exact same person. But I do think there's an attempt at least to try to have them pair up with the person that they could go to on campus. And they do have walk-in advising options and those types of things once the school year kicks off. Question if there are dental services. Shannon, do you want to talk to that?
Yeah, I think there are some dental hygiene services available on campus, but no dentistry. So we have lots of great dentists around town, but none on campus affiliated with our campus health services.
Yep, and I think what you're referencing is our actual dental hygiene program has a clinic where they're getting practical experience in the field. And I've been told before, if you want to have one of the best teeth cleanings of your life, that get one that's done by a student that's being graded on how they clean your teeth.
There you go. Thanks for that clarification.
Yeah. All right. Will health services have COVID-19 testing? They had COVID-19 testing available this spring, and that would be something that we'd be continuing to do. And some kind of additional questions have come in around testing. Just mentioned, we do have a task force working on kind of all the things that we'll be implementing this fall, and we'll be communicating those out to you as they solidify, but certainly testing would be a portion of that.
And Chad, if I could just add that our campus health services works very closely with our county health department, really hand in hand. So we're all working on this together in our town.
That's a great point. And we've got some cutting edge COVID-19 research happening right here in Flagstaff in Northern Arizona and at NAU. Paul Keim at the Pathogen and Microbiomes Institute on campus, in partnership with TGen off campus. There's actually a great YouTube video, probably on the same page that you're watching this, that just came out with an interview with Dr. Paul Keim. And I thought he did a great job talking about the work that's being done here in Northern Arizona, and a lot of big data around modeling the disease. And we're kind of worldwide, we're known for that research that we do here at NAU. good clarifying question here. Is it at the first meeting with their academic advisor where they'll start picking their classes? So your student, after they accept their offer to NAU, one of the things on the kind of next steps list, and I should mention there's a web page, nau.edu/next steps, that lays out all the next steps that a student can start taking after they accept their offer. One of those things is going to be completing priority enrollment. And what that is, it's an online profile that your student will fill out that begins the communication with the academic advisor. The academic advisor, based on what your student puts in priority enrollment, will kind of take that initial pass at building a schedule for your student based on what they put in that profile. For instance, in that profile, they'll confirm what academic program they plan to study. So maybe they've changed their mind since they initially applied. That advisor, after they've built that schedule, your student will have the opportunity during that virtual academic advising appointment with them to talk through that schedule, make any changes that need to be made to that schedule. But kind of the initial build of that schedule is going to be done by the academic advisor based upon the priority enrollment. So it's important that if your student has paid their enrollment deposit, to have them complete priority enrollment as soon as possible, and also register for orientation as soon as possible would be two of the big next steps to crank out right away. And obviously, if they want to live on campus, that housing application would be an important one to do there as well. Question of what is the policy if someone tests positive for COVID in the dorms? That would be another thing that task force is working through, what those protocols will be in a situation like that, and we'll be communicating that out to you throughout the summer. Want to just make another mention of the forecast from Flagstaff online video series we're going to be launching this summer, and kicks off June 3rd, so next Wednesday, and then every 2 weeks we'll be posting new videos there and recording new videos, and we'll certainly be showcasing some of those protocols that are being put in place, be it in the dining situation or housing. We're going to try to utilize that as an opportunity to show you what policies and procedures and safeguards that we are putting in place to help give you and your student some peace of mind as they're transitioning to campus this fall.
Chad, I'm really looking forward to that series. I think that's going to be a great way for parents to have confidence and reassurance of all of the various steps that we're taking, and to be able to do a deep dive on the different topics, I think is really going to be useful.
Yep. Talking about dining reminded me, one of my favorite things to talk about is our food delivery robots. We've got these star-shaped robots, and they're basically these white coolers on, I mean, they're way more high-tech than a cooler, but on 6 wheels, and they drive around campus and can deliver food, actually. And that's something we've had for over a year now, I believe, and was certainly something students were utilizing this spring on campus, getting food delivered to their residence hall. We still did have dining options for students, certainly as well, but I would anticipate those being utilized this fall. Again too, and it kind of works like an Uber or a Lyft, where you can drop a pin where you want the food delivered, and the robot will drive there and deliver the food for you. So many of you that have done campus tours maybe had the opportunity to see our robot friends roaming around campus. But yeah, excited to continue that this fall, and I know they've put into place some even stricter sanitizing protocols and all of that for those robots once they return from a delivery as well.
I have a funny story about the robots, Chad.
All right.
So my husband does not work at NAU. He doesn't work on campus, but anytime we come from the south headed north across town to our house, he likes to drive through campus to see the robots. They are out and about.
Yeah, students were naming the robots for a while. yeah, I think there's an Instagram page dedicated just to the robots and funny things that were people saw the robots doing. Someone commented, "Food robots, yes, please. Can they come to San Diego?" That might be a little farther than the range, but
I have one more cute robot story. So I was leaving my office, driving around campus, and actually our Dean of Student, Andrew Deese, was right behind me in his car. And we stopped at a crosswalk and we're looking up the pedway, and one of the robots, they're so cute, we were watching one of the little robots, went accidentally into the ditch. And there was this young man and this young woman walking together, and the young man like pushed up his sleeves, walked over into the ditch and rescued the robot right in front of the Dean of Students. Now, how perfect is that?
Yep. And they talk to you when they come to make the delivery to you. I do know on the Instagram page that was showing the food robots that the one that always got in trouble, probably like the one that went into the ditch, the name was Chad. So I don't know what I'm supposed to think about that, but.
Your trouble, that's what.
Yep. Do you want to, and keep the questions coming in here. We'll certainly take them as they come, but Shannon, do you want to talk about grocery stores, proximity to campus, those types of things, or just kind of if your students need to do some general shopping,
sure.
What's close to campus?
Yeah, I love to talk about this because I want to encourage you to support our local economy, not to necessarily buy everything at home and then pack it in your car, but we have some great stores in Flagstaff and they would all appreciate your business. So if you're thinking about things to get ready for the residence halls room, we have a Target, a big giant Target that knows how to stock for the start of any academic year. So they'll be stocked up in all kinds of storage units and everything your student will need, bedding, linens. We also have a Bed Bath & Beyond that is right across the street from Target, almost like less than a half a mile from campus. We have a Walmart. We actually have 2 Walmarts. So plenty of stores to get college supplies. Now, in terms of groceries, again, the Target, which is right on the corner of campus, has full service groceries. We also have a Sprouts within walking distance of campus, again, right on the edge of campus. I can walk there from my office for lunch. And a big Safeway, again, definitely a short walk from campus. And then kind of on one of the other corners of campus, we have a Whole Foods. So lots of easy way for your student to get some groceries for their residence hall.
While we're on the topic of food, I can just kind of touch on dining plans because that's a common question that certainly comes in these. Our meal plans and your students living on campus, if they are living on campus, are required to get a meal plan. There's kind of 3 options that students choose from. We've got 10 meals a week, 14 meals a week, and 19 meals a week are the 3 options. And with those, they can utilize those meal swipes. We've got a couple all you care to eat facilities, but then also we have different retail facilities on campus as well too. Chick-fil-A, Subway, Pizza Hut, places that serve salads, all kinds of options there. And they can utilize what we call a transfer special, which, let's use Subway as the example here. You could get a sandwich, get a drink, and get a side, and that would be one of your meal swipes. So basically one of your 10, 14, or 19 meals that you had for the week, you could utilize that way. Each of those meal plans comes with a different number of what we call dining dollars, and dining dollars are essentially a declining balance. And the 19 meals a week comes with less of those dining dollars, and the 10 meals a week comes with more of those dining dollars. And those can be used at different retail facilities as well too. Maybe your student wants to grab a cup of coffee, for instance, they could use dining dollars to do so there. We oftentimes get asked, and I've heard our student ambassadors get asked this question a lot, like which plan is the right plan? Which one should I pick? It's really a personal preference thing in terms of what your student feels like they would need. You could start with that 14 and then change from there, which an important thing to say is in those first couple of weeks of school, your student can change their meal plan. So maybe they chose 19 and realized that's more than I need, and I need to switch down to the 14, or maybe they chose 10 and realized, you know what, I do want at least 2 meals a day in the different dining facilities on campus. And then they can up it to the 14 from there. So some flexibility in those first couple of weeks to make adjustments to that. All right, gonna send this one your way, Shannon, and catch up. Thanks. I see now that once Shannon and I started talking, all the questions started coming in here around health insurance. And if we'd recommend buying student health insurance, since the Louis Care plan only covers the kids on campus, but doesn't cover them home on vacations. And maybe you'll want to defer that somewhere else too. Yeah.
I make it a rule not to talk about things I don't know a whole lot about. But what I do know is that there are some expert folks that work in the business office at Campus Health Services that can answer your questions. They can talk to you about insurance options. They can talk to you about whether or not the insurance that your family may have now can be used at Campus Health Services, whether or not the plans that NAU offers might be appropriate for your student and what the costs of those are. So really good website. I know the business office number is listed right on the front page, the landing page of Campus Health Services website. So give them a call and they'll be able to answer your questions.
Message says, thank you for hosting, getting excited about this new adventure. And do we have a parent Facebook page to connect and meet other incoming families?
Yeah, so I manage kind of an official NAU Parent and Family Services Facebook page. However, I do know that there are a number of private NAU parent Facebook pages just for families, and they don't necessarily want any staff on there. So they're administered strictly by families. You will just need to search those out on Facebook and then ask to join. And I know a lot of families really enjoy that.
Parents helping parents find Facebook pages in the chat. That's great. And I would our students, if your students are looking to connect with other students as well, I know they're on Instagram. Hashtag NAU Bound is going to help them find a lot of other incoming students for this fall. And also, I mentioned earlier when I was talking about orientation, how important it is for a lot of students to connect with current students before they come. And we're trying to do that with Zoom as a part of orientation for them to connect with current students. But also wanted to say that every Monday, we've got one of our student ambassadors taking over Instagram and answering questions there. And then Wednesday afternoons, 4 to 5 p.m., we have our student ambassadors taking over Instagram then as well too in a video format where kind of like what you have going on here right now for you all as parents. So if they want to be asking questions of some current students, that's a good platform to be pointing them to. There's a kind of specific question around not being able to select a meal plan because of some messages in there. I would encourage the person that asked that question, if you want to send an email to admissions@nau.edu with that question, and that's something we can help you sort out and navigate on that one. Question about a specific class, what it will cover. That's on your son's class list. Not sure if I'll be able to answer for sure what that NAU lecture class is. I do know we have some classes that kind of help with the transition to college. Maybe that's one of those that you're referencing there, but don't know for certain offhand here.
Do you think Chad, one of the academic advisors, could help? Yep. Might know more about that.
Absolutely. Yep. Their advisor could talk through more of the details on that. Absolutely. Let's talk about weather. A common question. You talked about, buying sheets, bedding, stuff like that. You could do that when you get here. Like, should students be bringing winter clothes with them? What are your thoughts on that, Shannon? I'm from Minnesota initially, so I'm not the one to be answering this question. I'd say, who needs a coat?
Yeah. So our weather in Flagstaff is perfect. And right now it is amazing. It's really beautiful. I think we're going to be in the high 80s. Yeah, our weather here is just glorious. Now, we do have winter. We're at 7,000 feet and we're up in the mountains. So starting in October or so, it will start to get cooler. Your student will need a warm jacket, maybe even a little beanie and some gloves and some waterproof shoes. But that stuff could actually wait maybe until mid-October-ish. So if you're pretty loaded up in your vehicle as you move out here, you might want to wait on that stuff. And again, I'm going to give a plug for our local stores in Flagstaff. We have a number of really great sporting goods stores in town to buy more specialized winter gear. But also you can get a warm coat and terrific waterproof boots from Walmart and Target.
Great advice. How about, I don't think you touched on transportation as far as getting maybe to home from Flagstaff. We talked about transportation within Flagstaff and around campus. Do you want to talk about how can students get home or to and from campus?
Yeah, that's a great topic. We have a small airport in Flagstaff, and American Airlines flies to Phoenix and Dallas out of Flagstaff, and United is running a flight to Denver. I think I got all that right. So we do have great little flights. The airport is maybe 10 minutes from campus. It's very close. We also have a private business in Flagstaff called Groom, G-R-O-M-E. It's kind of a funny word, Groom. And they run a shuttle that goes to a number of locations around the state, but of most interest to our families would be Phoenix, to the airport in Phoenix, or to your home in Phoenix, or down all the way down to Tucson. I recently learned they also run to Prescott. I know they run up to the Grand Canyon. So you can find out more information about Groom on the Groom website. And the really cool thing is they pick up 2 spots right on campus. So students can just, roll their suitcase to the pickup spot and jump on the Groom shuttle. And they're really nice, like passenger vans, like 12-person passenger vans. And when they get really busy, they pull a luggage trailer behind it. And then we have one new shuttle service that's running through Flagstaff called Flix, F-L-I-X. It was actually a European company that has been running luxury buses around Europe for some time, and they started running buses in the US, I think a couple of years ago. So they run some routes around the Southwest. Very inexpensive, limited routes in Flagstaff right now, but if it does work out for your student, that would be great because they're a great deal.
Great. Question about if there's a listing, checklist, upcoming payment dates, meal plans, housing, tuition, etc. I do think, as I mentioned earlier, that we are considering, and it's on the table as a possibility, an earlier start date. And hopefully in the next 7 to 10 days, we'll have something to be able to communicate out with families if that change is occurring, and we'll communicate that out right away. And I would imagine shortly thereafter, then it'll set into motion the dates around payments, dates around movement, move-in, and all those types of things at that point in time then.
So Chad, I'm a super planner. I know when my kids started college, as soon as they accepted their university spot, I booked move-in, I booked family weekend, right away. And so I know that not knowing is really difficult right now. And we completely understand the position that puts families in. I guess I just want to reinforce that we're really trying to do the best thing to keep students and our whole university community safe. So I think within the next, like Chad said earlier, I think within the next week or so, we will be able to make an announcement. But if you could just please be patient and understanding in this next week while we really are certain we're making the best decision based on the best information we have right now for our students in our community.
Yep, that's a great point. And yeah, we wish we could give you a full laid out plan right now. And obviously that's, as we mentioned, that's in the works, and we've got great minds working on all of that to figure out the best way to do it safely this fall. Ooh, great question. Yesterday during my daughter's orientation said to make sure you send your picture for your JAX card. Where do we go to do that? And I think this is really important too. Normally we would hand out JAX cards at in-person orientation. So the better we do collectively as incoming students and families at doing this, I think it's going to make the distribution easier in the fall. So nau.edu/JAX card, I believe is the URL there. And you'll be able to submit the photo for the student ID there. Make sure your student reads through kind of the specifications around the photo, like don't be wearing a hat kind of thing, or don't wear goofy glasses. If maybe they always have goofy glasses, then it's okay, but it spells out exactly the qualifications to have a photo that's going to work for the student ID there. So they'll submit a photo on the JAX card website. And then as far as I know right now, the plan is to distribute those then as students are checking in for housing. Obviously, if students are living off campus, there'll be another way to distribute those to those students. But I believe that is currently the plan. But if your student can submit that photo on that website, they'll be able to print that ID ahead of time and then distribute it to them when they get to campus. But yeah, that's a great question. All right, I think we've made it through all the questions in here. Anyone got a buzzer beater question to come in through the chat? We're coming up near the end of our time here. So I do want to, I know I've mentioned it a couple times already, but in case anyone joined late, one more plug for the forecast from Flagstaff. And that's going to be an online video series. The first episode is going to be next Wednesday, the 3rd of June. And then we'll be going on a cadence every 2 weeks throughout the summer and updating you all. And then a portion of that is going to be dedicated to answering questions and doing things like this. And I'm going to have captured all the questions that you asked today is going to help us and help inform us on what the most pertinent questions are and make sure that we're answering those throughout the summer on that forecast from Flagstaff show. Any other final thoughts, Shannon, before we wrap up today?
Just we're really excited to have your family join our big lumberjack family and your student join us here on campus for just an amazing experience.
Yeah, thanks for all your great questions, and we're gonna continue to be communicating throughout the summer, and stay tuned with all those resources for updates that I mentioned, and we look forward to seeing your students on campus this fall. And stay safe and stay healthy. Take care, everyone.
Bye.